Hey everybody, I'm here today with a very special person who's been part of my musical journey. This is Maria Dudnik. She's my vocal coach, and
Hi,
she's someone who's
everyone.
been, hi Maria.
Hi.
She's someone who's been pretty much a lifetime coaching people in choral work and voice training, and she's been indispensable to me as a vocal coach. So if you like my vocals on my songs, you can thank her. If you don't like my vocals on my songs, it's probably because I didn't listen to her and didn't follow the advice that she gave me. So look, let me turn it over to you. Just introduce yourself and tell people how you got started in this, what you do, like your approach to vocal coaching, and in a pop context. I mean, working in a pop and rock context here, right?
Yeah.
But you also work on coaching choirs and things like that. And I come from that background too. So like, let's talk about all of that stuff.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. And I'm so glad to be present today and talk with George about his incredible, nice music. About myself, my name is Maria Dudnik, and I'm a vocal coach since like 18 years. I started it pretty early. All my life was in music since my childhood. And I chose a profession that is fully in music. It's a choir conducting. So actually, my profession made me do the vocal coaching a huge part of my life because when you teach choirs, when you have a lot of people singing, there are a lot of difficulties, vocal difficulties for them um, to sing together actually because everyone has different approach, everyone has different technique, different voice, and it's a part of the profession to make them sing together, let's say the same way or correct way. And one more thing made me do this in my life because I went through difficulties with my voice. So, taking out my voice out of these difficulties made me feel other people, how to feel. How do they feel, and made my brain think, oh, how can I solve this problem with this person, how can I solve this problem with this person, and it all went after one thing after another, and then I'm here coaching such singers as George, coaching beginners too, but performing artists are also my big part of my coaching students. Coaching student, oh my god, okay.
Right.
Of my students, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I also originally, okay, everybody sings in the shower, sings in the car, or whatever. I wasn't necessarily a singer in a band, but I sang in the choirs in school, and I sang on the stage when I was in high school in musical productions and stuff like that. But I was never in the context of singing in a band, going on stage. Okay, maybe going to karaoke with some friends, but that was, and people say, "Oh, George sings," but I didn't pursue it in the context of having to do it correctly or professionally. Is Teo agreeing with me or not agreeing with me?
yeah, he's agreeing. I'm
Oh, very
sorry.
good.
He would like to participate in
Yes.
conversation.
Well, look, we're musical people. But we also have parents too. We have to try to balance
Yeah.
all of these activities. So, I had sang in choirs in high school and even when I was at university, and then I was away from that for a very long time. And then when I got in contact with you. I think a friend of mine had said you should check out Maria. She had seen your Instagram page, and I went to your Instagram and you were offering lessons, and we just started like that, and we clicked right away. And I liked your approach because again, you're coming from the world I knew, which is choral singing, but you're
Yeah.
also a pop singer and a pop artist like me. And so we very much come from the same space, and that was a big comfort to me. But what I found amazing from the first time that we worked together was, first of all, realizing that really, I don't want to say the technology, but the techniques have changed in the 20 or something, 25 or maybe 30 years since I sang in choirs before, in terms of how to blend the voice between the chest voice. I mean, in the old days, it was your chest voice and your head voice or your falsetto. And evidently there's a difference between head voice and falsetto. Maybe you can explain that. I don't understand that exactly, but I know that there's like, the chest voice and then the falsetto, for example, as a
Yeah.
guide. But what I worked on with you was the idea of how you blend the two so you can hit higher and higher notes. So when we first started, I was struggling to hit an
Yeah,
A above
yeah, I
middle C.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're at the point where, at least in my warm-ups, where some of the times I'm even hitting a D, an octave above middle C. So,
Right? Yeah.
that's been a huge, aside from just making it better in terms of recording the songs, it's been a huge confidence builder to know that, wow, with the right vocal coaching, you can do it. You can hit notes that you thought were just unattainable. And so, as a songwriter, that plays an important part, because when you're in a certain key, say, okay, well, how can I, if I want to play around with the melody, where can I go up to? And now I'm saying, in a lot of the songs on the album that I'm rolling out over the course of this year, there's a few high B's in there. My first album, there was one high B. There was one high B flat that was held out. And we were really sweating over that. I remember you came to the studio with me the first couple times
Yeah.
to coach me,
Yeah.
because I didn't have the confidence yet to be able to do it. And so it's largely thanks to you and the work that we did, that now hitting a B flat is like a piece of cake. Hitting a
Yeah.
B, I know that I just got to practice. It's going to take me a lot of takes. And if I was on the stage live, that might be another problem. But like being in the studio and hitting those certain notes, because of the training that we did, I know that I'm able to do that now. And so, anyone who's coming at this and starting to sing and has sung before and is kind of worried about your range, do vocal coaching, and with somebody like Maria, you can get to places you didn't think your voice would be able to take you. And I think that's great. It's been a huge confidence builder.
Exactly. As your range is bigger, you have more freedom in songwriting. That's sure. You can vary your tonalities, your keys. You can vary everything. You can have more freedom in the improvising stuff. I would
Yeah,
say, like the riffs and runs, and you can add the back vocals higher, lower, wherever
right.
you want. So that's more freedom in the music world. It's more
Sure.
freedom physically. Oh, I'm sorry.
And also,
More,
you mentioned about in the songwriting in terms of choosing the key. I mean, if you're like me and you're writing the song on the guitar, I mean, there's certain keys that just work well because you have, what they call the cowboy chords, the open strings. So you're in G, you're in D, etc. And so you're tending to go for certain notes. But if you know that you can reach other notes, you might want to transpose the song from G to A flat, or to A, or whatever. And so, because when you're putting out an album, you want to have songs in different keys as they transition from one. Sometimes you might want the songs back to back on an album. If you think about it, now we stream everything, right? But if you think about it in the current context of, if someone's listening to this as an album, sometimes you might want continuity of the key from one song to the next. Sometimes you
exactly.
don't. Sometimes you want it to go completely to another key because you want to clean the palette, the oral
Exactly.
palette. And when you have a better range to work with, you have the flexibility. When you're in the studio with the guy, say, you know what, I originally wrote this in G, but the chart is in A flat. Let's do it in A flat. Now that might be hard for me because I don't have the skill on the instruments, but when you're with studio pros that can just a bassist who
Yeah,
can play in A flat,
I would like to add for the key, because every key has its own mood or energy. So for me, I'm sorry,
it's
that's
okay.
essential part of choosing the key for the song, because you know the context. Okay, you know the context. You know the. Just a moment.
Yes, go ahead. Take your time.
You can edit, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I mean,
Can he participate?
of course you can.
That's okay. If
Yes.
it's gonna
You don't
make
mind.
you
I don't mind.
quiet, it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So
No, look, guys, this is the life of being a parent and a music creator who's
yeah.
in a not super young anymore, and so we have our family responsibilities too. We have to balance all.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the morning. It's mid-morning. My kids have gone off to school, and Maria's home with her younger son. I guess your older son is at school as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there.
he's
See,
talking a lot. So
yes.
so
Yeah, so to
Anyway,
your point about the character of keys. Now,
about
you I mean
the
you have
current,
perfect pitch, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, so you're one of
This
the lucky
time
people who has
it's going
perfect pitch.
worse
I don't,
because
and so
like
those things are not as obvious to me as they would be to you. You'll hear a key and say, "Oh, that's A flat, therefore it has this character to it or this mood to it."
let's say there are no like for every person like that's the mood for the character. There
Right.
is some theory like that, like when we listen to some music and we say like that's B minor, for example, and they say B minor is a very brave tonality. But as for me, what I see B minor, for example, for my impression on my for my impression, the B minor is very like clear but sad but very clear tonality. I wouldn't say it's a fighting tonality. No,
Okay.
it's a
Interesting.
fighting. So you see, for each person, that's gonna be maybe different.
Right.
But maybe there are like some general points about that.
Well, then we come back to a larger topic, which I always talk about in when I'm doing these kind of videos, which is, the artist creates for himself, and if other people appreciate it, that's great. So if you are writing or arranging, excuse me, and you choose the key of B minor because, excuse me, you choose the key
Yes.
of B minor because to you, thank you, it means something,
Yeah.
then that's, you're the artist. It's for you to convey that. You don't have to
Exactly.
cater it to what other people might think. And this is a debate that artists have, because especially nowadays, I have to make a song that's gonna be catchy, or I have to have a hook that's gonna work on social media and all of that. I mean, that's kind of a story as old as time. Do you cater to the masses? And I don't think that that's the right approach. I think if it's good and you believe in it, there will be people out there that will love it as well.
Yeah, the thing is that you have to express something, you have something inside and you want to express that, and that's the point. So then you will have the audience who really appreciate you, who really understand what you want to say, right? Like
Sure.
what you want to express. So that's the point. In our case, we don't say about the mass the work of labels or the artists who work with huge mass of people.
Right.
Yeah, that's another story, I think.
Sure. Yeah,
And
I agree
still,
with
I
that. And
think
I think it comes again to an even bigger point, which is each human being has a voice. So the idea
ex-
of, does Maria have a good voice? Does George have a good voice? Yes, somehow we could say that objectively, probably Whitney Houston has a good voice, or Mariah Carey has a good voice, or Steve Perry has
yeah,
a good voice, or whatever. But George has a voice, and Maria has a voice, and even people who are quote unquote not good singers. I mean, a famous example he talks about is Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, where he's like,
yeah,
"Well, the reason I made it is because some people enough people like my annoying voice that I became a star because of that." I'm really oversimplifying his career, but he's talked about that before. And so each person has something, a unique character of their voice. Now, of course, you have to get to a certain level of being in tune, and anybody can work on that. But that should be a source of confidence for anybody. You pick up that microphone, and it's you that's there. Nobody else can sound exactly like you. And if you're writing something and you have something to say, then, or even if you're saying, Frank Sinatra didn't write any songs, but he put his character into other people's songs and other people's lyrics, and people say, he played the microphone. That was his instrument, like nobody else ever did. And so that's, I think, important for any singer. Have the confidence to believe that you have something unique to offer that no one else can.
exactly. First of all, I always say, as a vocal coach, I always say that everyone has a voice, but difference is how many effort and time and uh, other stuff you can put into your voice. This is one. Second, everyone is unique, so if you want to express your thing through your voice, that's where we are in our
Right,
field, right? Some people they express in other stuff
right,
themselves, building houses or whatever, I don't
right,
know. But like through the voice, everyone can express, but not everyone destined to express.
right.
So we have to appreciate the gift we have, the
Yes,
gift, and that's the gift, but it's a huge work
it is.
and responsibility. It's a huge physical work, huge mental work, and the voice. I'm not talking even now about songwriting because
Right.
songwriting that's connected to us, but that's really important. And I wanted to comment also on something you said. It's like going in my
Go ahead.
head, like really thought after thought. And yeah, it's about the people who sing but don't write. I wanted to add that the music on on the paper is not the music because it should be played. It
Yes,
should be
totally,
right.
totally. Well, that's important because we're going to talk about three songs today. We're going to play segments of three songs, and all of those are covers that two of them that you and I worked on together, that you coached me, and one of them is a cover that you did. So it's appropriate that we chose those exactly for that point, which is to say, it's not we're going to talk about our own songs and our own. We've done plenty of that on our own, but in this case, exactly to the point. Yes, you can have a sheet music or a chart or the melody and the lyrics, but you as the artist have to deliver that with your voice in whatever key you choose. I mean, sometimes we do covers, we change the key, we change the rhythm, we change the time signature. There's lots of choices you have as an arranger and as a vocalist. Um, so yeah, but let's go back because you mentioned a point about the physical part of it. And that was something that was really important for me in working with you is understanding, and I think that's really probably your greatest strength, I could say objectively as a coach, is explaining to the singer how to visualize the physical aspects and make the connection between the physical, the bones and the muscles and the channels of pressure that work inside the body and how that actually equates to the sound coming out in a certain way. So talk about, I mean, I guess when we go through the three songs, we'll probably have examples. But generally,
Yeah.
can you talk about your approach to the physiology of singing?
Yeah, what opened in myself is that I can feel each person that is singing in front of me. I can like feel what's happening with the muscles or where the sound goes. So my approach is really kind of physical, but through the mind.
Okay,
So I can draw some pictures for you too, so you can lead the sound where we need it to go, right? So the thing is that the sound is a physical thing that we cannot see,
mm-hmm.
right? It's a flow with the air and it's a flow. We
Right,
cannot see it. That's why we have to imagine. We have to imagine a lot of things. So
right,
that's why I can feel where the sound goes, and there is a certain way where it should go, the projection, right?
yeah,
Like in each pitch, each note, each syllable. So, and sometimes there is no rule, like, okay, we know that ooh, for example, it goes to your upper front teeth, for
right,
example, through them, right?
right.
But sometimes out of in the context of the song, of the phrase, of the word, even it wouldn't go like that. So you will have to not improvise, you will have to find another way. So that's a thing I find myself really passionate about.
Well, it shows, and that's when sometimes as a singer you hit a brick wall and it's just like I can't sing this syllable on this note. It's too high of a note for that syllable. And you notice even in some pop songs where famous singers have sung the word wrong, and you're like, they were probably in the studio and they just weren't getting it, and they just said, okay, we'll just sing a different syllable there because you can't. There's one I can't
So
remember but there's one Huey Lewis song where he just pronounces the word wrong, probably because it was hard to hit the note on that syllable. And that's one thing I find when I'm practicing and then I come to you and you're like, well, that's because you have to do it like this. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, well, now it makes sense. It's so easy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not, this is why you need a coach. Even the greatest people, whether it's sports or music or whatever, everybody needs a coach because there's things that are not
exactly.
obvious to you. Even if you have exceptional talent, consider myself like exceptional
I,
talent, but even the best tennis player or golfer or whatever in the world needs a coach to point out things that they don't see or feel
yeah,
exactly in that moment.
exactly. Even me as a coach, I have a coach. I have actually three coaches,
Okay.
so that's and sometimes I'm getting to just to check up because also self control is not always like the working right. So
Hmm.
that's why you need somebody to who you trust, who you really like click, who you really
Yes.
know
Yes.
that this person can really lead me or remind me or hear something that I don't hear or
Yes.
feel,
Yes.
right? So you need somebody.
Yes.
And
One thing
he's
that I want to come back to from the first times that we started the lessons, and usually our sessions are 45 to 50 minutes. Let's say it's a little bit less than an hour. And I have to admit, in the beginning, I was kind of annoyed, saying, "Okay, well, I mean, I'm paying for nearly an hour, and like more than half the time is spent warming up, you know." And then it was through time that I realized, oh, well, there's a reason for that because you have like talk about the importance of warming up, and that you
Yeah.
don't just go and stand behind the microphone and start singing. You have to spend a lot of time warming up beforehand. So, like, what's your approach to warming up, and the kind of exercises you choose, and where it leads you to be able to sing correctly in the rest of the lesson?
Yeah, my warming up is not only warming up because we already from the start, from the first minute of the lesson, we are starting to um I'm sorry. We are already tuning our body for the
Mhm.
right for the correct techniques. So
Right.
we work on the technique from the first exercise. So when we are doing just humming or some like hang exercise that is like closing the root of your tongue and
Mhm.
that's already has a point, that's already has a target, an aim to make your flow more narrow, to
Right.
the right projection and stuff. So each warming up exercise has point, technique point.
Yes.
That's first, and there is a strategy. It's very
Mhm.
important. Sorry. I will try to put him down to play.
Okay.
He will calm down. Okay.
Yes.
So,
So,
so getting back to
yeah.
sorry, the getting back to the warming up. So every warm up has a strategy. Every lesson that has a warm up
Hmm.
could have, even when you warm up at home alone or before the concert, anywhere, it has to be with the strategy because, of course, you will start with very small range. You will start from very comfortable notes for
Hmm.
you. You will start from soft approach, but already strong using the diaphragm and
Right.
already um, already thinking about the right projections, thinking about the freedom in the throat, and
Right.
uh, that's going to be the first point. And then you're going to increase the intensity of the sound. You're going to make the range bigger with each exercise, and you're going to add some techniques to each exercise you do
Right.
where in the end of warm up we come into combining two techniques like going from the mixed voice to the
Right.
falsetto
Yes.
and
Yeah.
track and stuff, right? And we are increasing the range so we can push our limits to the
Right.
highest and lowest notes. That's the point too for me, for
Yeah.
example, personally. The challenge is the lowest notes.
Okay. Yeah. For guys,
Wow.
that's usually less of an issue, at least in
Yeah,
pop singing, right? Maybe in
yeah.
choral singing, that's a different story. But in pop singing, we don't really go for the low notes.
Yeah, exactly. So usually for male voices on the in the pop singing, it's the highest notes. For
Right.
female voices, that's the lowest notes. But I mean the lower range
Yeah.
we need to have, but the high notes are challenging too
Right.
for female singers. So especially in belting and in mixed voice, yeah. And some of female singers have difficulties with the falsetto, with head voice too.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
Now,
too.
what would you say are the main like physical symptoms of not singing right? When things are not right, where would you feel it? Where do you tell your student or your client that you're feeling, if you should be feeling something, if it's not coming out, or you should be feeling it in a certain area, what are the most common ones?
I would say that when there is any feeling in the neck area,
Right.
in the throat area, when there is any feeling of stress, of squeezing, let's say, of any discomfort in here,
Yeah.
that's the wrong stuff. After that, you're not gonna have projected sound. You're not gonna have maybe strong voice. Maybe your diaphragm will be not working. Yeah, that's all. Uh, Sometimes reasons, sometimes consequences, but it mostly it shows here.
So this is the starting point then, is to be relaxed here.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
interesting.
shows here. And sometimes I'm not even telling that you have to relax here. I'm
Okay.
pointing at the other stuff that should be
Okay.
activated. Like
Right.
for example, okay, I heard that, and if I will say that you have stress here, let's relax,
Yeah.
that's not gonna help
Right.
because you will be focused there, and it's gonna stress even more. So
Yes, that's happened many times. Yes.
you have to remove focus from there because the person already focused here.
Yeah.
Like if there is stress, you already think about that.
Yes.
Already like all your mind, why am I doing that? You
Yes, you'll
even
feel it. And sometimes when I'm practicing, I'll practice in front of a mirror, and I can
yeah,
see I can see my,
see the
my veins
muscles.
sticking out. And another one is, you feel the tightness in your chest or your back muscles in certain cases.
Exactly. That's why we also have to feel the body being relaxed in certain muscles being activated in certain right, the posture. We are talking about posture all the time in the on the lessons, especially in the beginning
Yeah.
of the course. Let's say
Yes.
we are talking a lot about posture because that's important, but to we are not classical singers to stay on the stage
Yes.
straight. Even classical singers, they don't like stay on the stage straight because if you sing opera or any
Right. Right.
uh,
Moving around.
play,
Yeah.
you have to lay down and sing. You
Yes.
have to
Yes.
back. You have to be like
Yeah.
upside down. You have to sing. So that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is that you have to feel in certain parts of your body really like um, let's say untouchable or really like strong. So nothing, whatever you do, nothing will disturb you. If you jog and you sing, that's a good exercise to
Right.
do too.
Interesting. Probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from you was this counterintuitive aspect of limiting the airflow on the highest notes. And because you think, well, there's a correlation between the energy I need to put into the note and how high and how powerful the note is. And as a result, you end up straining like crazy, and you don't hit the note, and it doesn't sound good. And so what I learned from you is, like you always said, like a drop. Think of it like you're narrowing the amount of pressure that goes into a tiny little nozzle, and it comes out there very high pressure, but you're not pushing it like very forcefully.
Yeah, that's the huge myth about the high notes that you have to like push and scream and like you need a lot of effort on that. No, yes and no, because as higher as we go, usually we talk about that we have to concentrate the airflow.
Yes.
To concentrate it, we are talking about the narrow
Yes.
things. So that's why, what do we do with that? We have to focus on the diaphragm a lot, on the waist, so the muscles will not let your air go out
Right.
right away.
Right.
When you are giving a lot of air outside with the sound, your vocal cords will not resist that. Well,
Right.
they cannot. It's just physically not possible because the vocal cords are really small.
Mm-hmm.
Like if anatomically we will, if just we will check, they are really like a small thing, and
Right.
it's a really harsh thing to do on them is to scream or to do
Right.
this huge push.
But you
That's
see,
why,
without a coach, a singer is not going to, maybe very few people who are very much in tune with their own physiology or just try it enough times and they figure it out. But
yeah,
you're not going to figure that out on your own. You're just going to
no,
get
no.
frustrated. You're going to keep
And
screaming. You're going to
then,
strain your voice. And then you're going to say, okay, well, now I'm tired. I'm physically tired. I can't
yeah,
carry on with the practice. And then, okay, I'll try it again tomorrow. And chances are tomorrow the same thing because I went through that. And then
yeah,
you get frustrated. How come how do these people do it? I'm not able to sing. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then you
yeah.
go and your coach can fix it in one lesson to explain this is how you have to think about, your body and the physiology and the airflow and the pressure and the science of it, really, the physics of it.
Yeah, if you remember, I told you like I told you to cool down when you go on the highest notes. I told you, don't be so emotional. Remember, like,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
you go up, but keep your mind cool. Keep your mind cool until you get the right technique, and then you can go emotionally, whatever you
Of
want.
course, but the problem is that we imitate our heroes. We watch these,
Yeah,
a guy
I
like me
know.
watches these rock singers and they're on stage and
But
they're
you
all
never
feeling it,
know how
right?
much work were put
Right, but
there
we think that,
behind.
because we believe in the music and we're going to rock and roll, it's going to be easy, and
Yeah,
it's not.
BTS behind the scenes, you never know how much effort, how much work, and how did they work on that. This is first. Second, if you scream, if you put this all outside without keeping your mind cool, how can you stand 2 hours of recording session
Oh,
or 2, 3 hours of the concert? Okay, it's too much. 1 hour, let's say, one
right.
hour of the live performance. How can you stand like this if you do that? Physically, I've seen such singers, and I would say that it's draining. And I've seen them after 2 years just
Yeah,
uh, losing their voice or being so tired, so they have to take like 1 year off
right,
of
right.
year.
I think of
Um,
this as an example, like talking about the arc of the concert and the energy that you need. And I remember an interview with Sting where he's saying, "We don't do Roxanne at the beginning of the concert because I need to warm up. I need to get into it before I can hit the notes that I need to hit in Roxanne
yeah,
as an example." And then the other example I'm going to give when it comes to this idea of working on it, and it's not just so easy. I mean, even an amazing, legendary singer like Freddie Mercury and
yeah,
Brian May has said if you listen to the first Queen record, Freddie was not the singer that he became later. He had to work on. He was naturally gifted, obviously, but he became the legend that he was. And he wasn't
exactly.
at that level on the first album. He had to work at it, and he wanted to get there.
Yeah.
And so that, not that I aspire to be as great as Freddie Mercury, but look, anybody has room to improve, and if you work on it, you can get better and better. And so again, it's about the confidence of it. Yes, probably when I go back and listen to the first tracks that I did, I could have done that better. But it was my first time in the studio. It was my first album, even though I did a million takes. But still,
Exactly.
with time comes experience and the ability to produce a better product more quickly.
Yeah, that's like I now everybody are like, oh, you're so talented, you are so, but I put a lot of work. No, you are so talented. Like, yeah, that's it. But when you have consistency, when you have sweat, when you have, um, yeah, a lot of thinking about that, not only doing and
Right.
doing that,
Yeah.
that's a lot
Yeah.
of time, effort, and
Yes.
yeah,
All right, so let's go now to listen to those songs, and we're going to give examples from listening to the tracks, and we'll hear from you about the vowels and the placement and the notes and all of the physiology, and so maybe we can get some specific examples from you on that. Okay, so we're going to listen to three cover songs that the two of us have done. Two of them were recorded by me and sung by me. One of them was Maria's own arrangement. So first one we're going to hear is the Beatles song Blackbird, written by Paul McCartney from the White Album, 1968. And in this case, I did kind of a minor key reharmonization of the song. So change the character, and then at the end it modulates back to a major key, and it does some other interesting things. But this was a very difficult song for me to sing, and I did close to, I'm exaggerating, but there were millions of takes to get some of these parts right because it was really, really hard. And the thing is, because it was just vocal and acoustic guitar, it's very naked, and so you got to be on the money on some of those songs because it's really delivering the emotion and it's just so exposed. And so we're gonna listen now and we'll talk about some of the techniques you helped you with there. So let me cue that up.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arise.
Okay, so that's the first couple phrases there.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly. Blackbird fly into the light of a dark black night.
Okay. So anything that you remember there? I remember a couple really challenging things there, but what are the impressions you have from that first minute?
You know, the result is so light. Like it sounds as if it's so easy for you to sing.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, like you know. But I remember that was the first song we were working on.
Yeah.
And as for us to start applying what we did on warm-ups,
Yes.
let's say we'll call warm-ups is a huge thing because that's technique.
Yeah.
Starting to apply that on the songs,
Yes.
that's one of the huge steps. Yeah. So what I remember about that I remember we were fighting with the ends of the phrase, like
Yes.
not fighting, we were trying to get them right.
Yeah.
And because there was a lot of push on the last notes, I remember they were sounding a bit flat, but the thing they are the fifth step, the root note, the minor third, and actually they shouldn't be like really like high. But when you don't think about it, you sound a bit low,
Right.
flat, because like it's especially you push the long note in the end, and if you don't think about that it's some note that you should push, it's actually the last note, so why should you?
Yeah.
And plus, I like that it helps that it has the syllables like with night, fly, and life, arise. Yeah, that's
Yes.
so nice rhyme that the authors chose actually.
Well, yeah, thank Paul McCartney for that.
Yeah, so it helped us just to get the notes right because we
Yeah.
started smiling on that note.
Yes.
Yeah, the fifth
Yeah, so talk
song.
about that, the idea of smiling when you're singing.
Yeah, like that helps to take the projection of the sound higher than your upper teeth.
Mhm.
Yeah, which makes your sound more sharp. Yeah,
Okay.
because don't think about that. The sound will go straight through your mouth or will go lower, and then actually it will sound low.
Mhm.
Like if the dead of night, like it all goes
Right.
there. But just you did dead of night, you went
Right.
this way.
Yes,
It's the same
yes.
note, but
It
it
makes
sound,
a
I'm
big
sorry, that
difference,
was
even
not
in the
good.
warm-ups, when you look
Yeah.
in the mirror and suddenly say, oh, I have to remember to smile, and suddenly, oh wait, it's easier and it sounds better and you have more energy into it somehow.
Yeah. And to keep that smile, it's not only like, because we have to smile, because maybe there is a character, maybe the character of the mood of the song doesn't give you a smile. But if you think about it technically, we need always to keep in pop rock singing, we need always to keep this line, the imaginary line here,
Okay.
aligned, not this way, maybe
Right.
it's always straight, because
Huh.
we will be thinking of projection
Right.
there from this line
Okay.
and there. So
Okay.
that's why we will have to be all the time
Yes.
here
Yes.
this way. And if you will see any live performances of the vocal legends,
Right.
and you will just pause somewhere and you will see their face, you will be like looking very carefully at their face. You will, that's a grimace. That's not a, like that's something that is not like usual face of normal person talking, for example, or
Right.
yeah. So so
Yes.
yeah, that
Now hold on.
that
I do want to mention one thing, which is no big revelation, but of course, all of these are pitch corrected. Everything that I'm singing is pitch corrected. So this is not a live performance. It's not a one take. This is a comp of many takes, and it's pitch corrected. Now maybe not super aggressively, because I'm doing enough takes where you can start to see with the waveform. If you have the right vibrato in there, it will there's almost a correlation between how good it sounds and the visual, and you can tell
yeah.
that's a good take just by looking at it. If it's like, you can see that you'll hear it in the sound. So this is why you do a lot of takes, and you pick the ones where, okay, if I adjust a little bit, but it doesn't change the character of the sound that I created, it just corrects the pitch a little bit. So this is not auto tune where I just click one button. I did one take, clicked one button. That sounds very artificial and very robotic. It has to sound like a human singing. It has to sound like George singing. And so that's the approach that I take to correcting, because I do want it to sound as good as it can. I don't feel that that's cheating. I think that's just the way that we do it these days. And so I embrace that. I use it where I think it's appropriate, not too aggressively. So, just full disclosure on that.
It's helpful. It is actually helpful. When you are singing live, that's another story. When you record, of course, we are aiming to be the closest to the ideal track. But you know that recording will be not just a moment. That's a moment captured forever.
Yes. Yes.
So if this moment is captured forever, yeah, I want some Photoshop on my photos. I don't want to be captured with, I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
So
well, I think the trick there is, like, when you're singing live and you're marketing it as a live performance,
you are in the moment,
right? But the thing is now is that, and there's I'll maybe put a link embedded here. There's a great YouTuber named Phil from a band called Wigs and Pegasus, where he does analyses of live TV performances, and he says these are delayed by a few seconds, and they are pitch corrected. So when you see great artists singing on TV shows, they are not nailing it. And then he'll go through other ones like Celine Dion at the Olympics in Paris, and he's like, well, there's audio. Yes, her actual audio was on the broadcast maybe was corrected, but when you listen to an ambient microphone, you can see that she's on the money as a singer. But then others, you can see that this is fake. I mean, they didn't hit the notes, or they're just limp syncing it or whatever. But the problem is that we're not disclosing that these days. So I think, like, as an artist, I disclose what I fix. When I'm doing live performance videos of my songs for YouTube, I will do one videotape, but there's probably audio comps in there for certain parts of it. And I'll just put in the notes, some of the audio was comped here. Not all of it, but some of the audio was comped here. I just think that any artist should be honest about that, because we're at a point where if you're saying that it's live, it should be live. And if it's not live, you should disclose what's not live about it.
Yeah, exactly. About the recordings, because it is the thing that will be forever. Let's say, like, you captured it and that's it. You can do remake, remix, I don't know, whatever you can do later. But if that's the first one, then I think we have to work on it properly. And since not every note, like, it's not like, let's go and pitch correct everything with one button. No, if each note is checked, like how I work too, I check every note. Not every note is pitch corrected, of course. But like you see, oh, this note, yeah, maybe a bit we have
Well,
to
I mean,
do this.
this is pop singing. There are bent notes. There are expressive things where, I mean, there's famous examples. We could spend hours talking about this, but there are
Yeah,
famous
yeah.
examples of people who have gone and auto-tuned the greatest singers, or they've pitch corrected the greatest singers. It's like, well, this sounds like crap now because it doesn't have the soul of
Yes,
drifting in and out of the pitch of the note.
sometimes, yeah, I'm sorry. And sometimes I just don't change anything, even if it sounds kind of flat or very high. I just don't change because if I change, it changes the point of it, you
Yes.
know? And
Yes.
then, oh no, I will keep that. And some artists I know they did that. They do that a lot,
Yes.
especially from not now modern, I don't know,
Right.
but then I heard about that. And
Yes.
when you feel that, yes. But what I want to say, this work that we've done before the recording and during the recording, that's very important because you cannot go to the studio and sing whatever and then okay they will correct it. There will be pitch correction,
That's
even with
sloppy. That's not putting your heart into the performance.
even if you do let's say particularly Night and Fly and Live and Rise, even if you do them not smiling as a vocal coach saying not smiling, if you do them flat and you will be relying on the pitch correction, that won't sound right.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
no
So I
no.
remember from this phrase, I remember two things specifically. Let me play those bits again.
Let me mute the microphone.
Okay, those two ends of the phrase were really challenging. We spent a lot of time on, and we did warm-ups on the falsetto because you said make it like a spring to go
Yeah.
la.
Yeah, the change for the switch between the mixed voice and falsetto, that was challenging for the first lessons, let's say,
Yes.
because it took with us time. Now I think that's easy for you.
I mean, now
But
lately we don't even do falsetto in the warm-ups anymore. I mean, the songs I'm working on don't have a lot of falsetto parts in them, or if any.
but
We used to spend a lot of time on it.
we used to spend a lot of time, so you can get used to that and use that later whenever
Yes.
you need. And what helped you really in the switch is the inserting a small H, yeah,
Right.
between the
Yes.
notes,
Yes.
because that makes like a transition, easy
Yes.
transition. If you don't have this transition, then it's a lot of freedom for the
Yes.
muscles and cartilages here, so they don't know where to go, what to do. So when you insert something, there will be like live
Right.
is making it
Right.
like more leaded, let's say.
Yes.
And nobody actually pays attention for that. That's why it's not a small cheating, but it helps. If
Yes.
it helps and it doesn't affect the diction
Right.
a lot, so
Right.
the thing we can use.
Yes.
So that was, I think, a good point for this switch.
Yes. The other one was the end. This moment to be free. I found that the E sound at the time was really, really hard to hold, to keep the note in tune.
Yeah.
And make it sound clean.
And
really
it's so important because it's fifth note. It's very important. It should sound basic, right? But a bit with the tendency like a bit higher, because I think fifth note is really one of like root note and fifth note. They are the ones that.
So hold on, that on the free we're on an F7 chord. So what? It's a C.
Okay. It's a no. We got on the free. You got B flat, no? And that's the third note. Okay, the root note. I'm talking about the G minor, but yeah, the chord is different. Okay, that's my mistake. Okay, but anyway, it's a major third,
right?
Which definitely should sound high.
Right.
And the E sound is kind of difficult sometimes because you feel that as if it's a wide one because E, yeah,
Right.
but actually it's very narrow. It's we always compare it to U because UE, it's the same projection. And we had to make it more narrow when we
Right.
were working with you, and the notes weren't really comfortable to sing because they were a bit high
Right.
back then. These notes
Yeah.
were a bit high for
Now
you.
I think
Now
about it, a D. I mean, come on, like that's
they are
that's
like
a piece of cake.
okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now they are very okay, very
Yeah.
basic for you. But back then, E flat, D, F
Yeah.
were,
Oh yeah.
and the whole phrase on that these notes.
Yeah.
That's why we took these notes through the nose, I remember, and we
Right.
were trying to take like more projection to the
Yes.
nose, the kind of a twang we used there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Technique. So I don't remember if we did that on one syllable that took it through the nose, but
Yes, you did. Moment to be free, you said concentrated there. So this is what I was saying, where you give visual cues to the physiology, put it through the nose, or like the hard palate, the top of the
yeah.
feel the tension here in the
In the
nose.
nose, yeah. And
It's
you know what helped us because moment, the word moment, M is really easy
right,
to put in the nose, so you could really feel that.
right,
So I think that what helped us to take this into the place
right.
because that's narrowing the flow, narrowing the sound, and
Yes.
sound playing is good sometimes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right,
So
let me skip ahead to the what was the hardest part of the song, the middle section after the guitar solo. Hold on.
yeah, we have-
Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night, dark black night, dark black night.
So that part was so hard to do. And also, it was the most emotional part of the song. It was also the part of the song that drifted furthest away from the original arrangement. And so it's like, whoa, this is really taking this song in a more dramatic dimension to a more dramatic dimension. You gotta sing that right. And it was really, really hard. Not that and at the time, again, we go up to an A flat there,
yeah,
which at the time was like, oh my God, can I really hit this A flat cleanly?
yeah. At the time,
Yeah.
that was a huge challenge. Um, okay. So, a moment,
Yeah, go ahead, take your time.
you today will not keep me quiet.
Mhm.
Quiet, yeah? What? Okay. So, going to Blackbird Fly.
Yeah.
What bothering me here the most that we were closing like Blackbird Fly.
Yes, yes.
Remember that we were
Yes,
trying
like you have to get
get out of the-
blackbird to fly.
Yeah, that's what I was applying the classical technique, actually, the bel canto technique, when they say that the legato, the
Right.
connect stuff, when you have to continue the vowel and connect the last consonant to the next consonant,
Yes.
like not black bird, no,
Right.
blackbird
Yes,
fly.
yes.
Yeah, remember that.
It
So
sounds
that's
so much better having done it that way than breaking them up. It just
because that word is quite difficult because like it's easy to just close black.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just going short, it's just
Yeah.
making it shorter and shorter and shorter, and then you are like, no, that's not what we need. Why do we need there a very short note? Because the melody is not about that, right? So that's why we have to think of it another way, and that was challenging, yeah. And then I remember you already were starting that phrase singing like really emotional because you were predicting that, oh, that's an emotional
Right,
part.
right. But you have to
Let's
build up to
start
it.
it already like
Yes, it's like no, but
drama.
you can't be, it's a D. It went from D, then F, then A flat. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't start on the D, with all of your heart into it, because then where do you go? Then you end up straining to get to the higher notes, and it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, exactly. And then you need to have a space, right? You need to have a room where to go
Yes.
because if you started already strong, how can you do the
Right.
next phrase stronger and
Right.
stronger, stronger? No, there is no
Yes.
way. That's why we were having a strategy to start it softer.
Yes.
Uh, and A flat for me, A flat is a very dramatical note. As me, I have the feeling with the keys. So
Right.
whatever key it is, it's a very drama note.
Right.
It's a really drama note. So that was a really good placement for the note here
Yeah.
in the song.
So hold on. That's
Um,
the chord there is in what, A flat major 7?
yeah.
Okay.
Even before the one that is in C minor still, but A flat
Right.
black
Right. Okay.
light.
So it's flat 6 there. And then
Yeah,
when
the six.
black into the light. So when it goes there, it's the root basically, but on a major 7
Yeah,
chord.
it's the root. It sounds
Of
drama.
a dark, and then it's a flat 9, right? When it goes to the G7.
Yeah.
So that
Of
note
a
is playing a lot of roles there. It's a flat 6, then it's a root, then it's a flat
exactly.
9.
And for me, each A flat is different, but it's all
Yes.
in a drama field.
Yes.
The
Yes.
first one, yeah, that is drama 6-1. The light is light.
Right.
The light is light, but it's still in this context.
Yes.
And dark and dark and dark. Yeah, that's like for me a gothic castle, you know.
But
So
this is another example of, it's not just, okay, let me have a vocal coach because I need to hit the notes, but it's because you come from a pop context as well, and using the techniques from classical singing, you are singing an arrangement of a song, and it's complicated and dramatic passage in the song, and therefore it's not just, oh well, here's how you sing the notes. You have to put them in the context of the arrangement.
that's
And
why.
that's why, again, why it was so useful to work with you, because you helped me. I knew what I wanted to deliver emotionally with that phrase, but you helped me to put the body and the technique to deliver that emotion.
What I love to do is interpretation, and
Yes.
interpretation, music interpretation cannot be alone. So, of course, we use interpretation to make your singing better. So, to choose certain techniques to interpret
Yes.
the music in the right key, because yeah, we have a different ways on hitting A flat or whatever high note is. But when I see that, okay, that's the whole mood, the general mood. That's the phrase. But if I see particular phrase in this whole general mood, I would choose another technique.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then I have a pictures in my mind, and then I try to describe
Yeah.
them to you so you can
Yes.
project that into the sound, not only like, okay,
Yeah.
put the muscle there and here and think about that. It's also your imaginary word that
Yes.
helps you,
Yes.
your muscles and cartilages to sing the note correctly. Because that's, I think that's very important for self-analysis too.
Yes.
So when
Totally.
you will not
Totally.
have me, or you are not, uh, or you will get used to that way, and maybe you can self-regulate and say, ah, okay, so we can go choose the technique or remember some technique by going through the interpretation. What would I imagine here?
Yeah.
Why is this note there? That's why that's also crucial for
Yeah.
any singer to be familiar to music theory,
Yeah. Well,
the
there's
writing and the
another
keys
thing
and
that I'm
stuff.
reminded of, that again comes back to, we're not just warming up for the sake of warming up. We're practicing the techniques that we'll use. And there were times when you told me, listen, these notes here, It's exactly this particular exercise. It's just different syllable. So when you practice it, do it as if you're doing the exercise with oo or ah, whatever the syllable was. I don't remember exactly which part it was. And I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, when you feel comfortable doing it with the simple syllable from the exercise, then do it with the proper syllable from the song. And it
Yeah.
made it so much easier.
Yeah. So yeah, each song, it's not just the song from the beginning till the end. It's different like phrases, even notes
Yes.
we use from there, from there, from that's why we have a lot of warm-ups in the beginning, and that's
Yes.
why you
Well,
might
again,
get
that's why in the end
from
it
the
made
first
it made much
lessons.
more sense to me. It's like, oh, warm up. We should just warm up for 5, 10 minutes and then just get into the song. No, no.
No,
We're
because
warming up
in
to
warm-up
yes.
you get the stuff that you use actually in the songs. And for
Yes,
me,
yes.
better to, okay, I need very patient students because as much more you get the exercises with me, okay, that's really like, but simple thing to say, like everyone would say
Yeah.
that, but I really mean it,
Yeah,
that as much more you do the exercise, as much faster you will understand how to apply that to the song. So
totally.
then you won't get frustrated with the song.
Yeah. Well, now I'm a true believer now because I understood how it works. And also, you get tired by the end of 45 minutes. So if you're just gonna sing this, if you're gonna sing the song for most of the lesson, you'd run out of steam. I mean, the warm-ups and the exercises are structured in a way that you don't have to necessarily burn all of your energy because you're not thinking about the performance and putting the emotion into it. You're just
Yeah.
warming up.
You just,
So let's
yeah.
let's do now the last bit of the song.
Yeah.
Actually, let me play I have the acapella version of that, the vocal. That.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. Arise, arise.
So you can hear in there, some of those were not perfect when you hear them naked like that. Like, oh, I think if objectively I listened to those some of this, oh, I should have done another take because I could have made it sound better. But in the context of the song and the emotion, no, it's better that it wasn't perfect.
It shouldn't be perfect,
Yes,
actually.
yes, yes,
Perfection in everything is not a healthy thing.
right.
So it's perfect in its own way, and I want to comment that I really love the change of tonalities because the light you bring with G
Hmm.
major and then C major, the simplicity and the more light than G.
Uh-huh.
And then going back to drama to C minor
Right,
is
right.
really game changer in this
Yeah.
this song. That's really incredible this thing. And what I want to say after the drama part that we were working on, this part went kind of easier for you because
Yes.
you got experience, you
Yes.
got the falsetto, you got the twang technique was
Yeah.
the bringing the sound through the nose, yeah, and
But I think it's partly, if I recall, the way I felt doing the takes, because this part is in major keys. All right, it goes to G major, then into D major, then to C major. I mean, you're in C major. It was just like a 1, 6, 2, 5 thing. It just felt so easy to sing, just because. And I made it a little bit more playful, because the progression is kind of simple there. You were
uh,
only waiting. It's more poppy in a way, the delivery,
yeah,
and it just
and
felt easier.
but I remember we were stuck with this part vocally long time.
Yeah.
I remember that because we needed time for that to practice more on the second octave, on the octave starting C4. You have to practice. You had to do other songs
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
to come back to this part and
Yes.
feel really comfortable in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I would say that C major is not easy to sing.
Okay.
For vocals, C major is not easy key. All the flat keys are easy, but the C major, it's simple for everyone, but for vocals, physical vocals, that's not really.
But but
So
like psychologically though, you think, oh, C major,
psychologically, it's easier,
you
of
think, oh, it's
course.
just the white keys, it's easy chords on the guitar. So you think, oh, well, it's going to be easy. This is probably a wrong equation in my mind, but psychologically
That's
as a singer,
normal.
that's how I looked at
That's
it.
normal, but now that's the wrong thing to say. Like for people who's gonna listen, maybe to not put point in their mind. But yeah, C major not easy key to sing, and especially you have F, E, D, C, this all things, and you mostly stay on F.
Yeah.
So that was for the first lessons. That was really high
Oh,
notes for
yeah.
you. They
Yeah.
were really high for you. That's why we were okay. We somehow fixed, but I didn't feel that you were so comfortable. So that's we said we'll continue with other songs. We did that, and then we
I
returned
remember.
this again, and then you were like amazed. Oh, now it's comfortable.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this now.
And for the ending of this recording, I remember in studio you spend a lot of time just to find right
Yeah.
sound.
Oh, God.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
ending is really difficult
Yeah.
to find the right sound. I wouldn't say technique because you can have different sounds in the same technique, but because the vocals are naked
Yeah.
there is
Really,
only like
really
acoustic
naked.
guitar and the vocals, and in
Yeah.
the end should be like really something. And here I couldn't even advise you something because I was like, okay, we need to have a patience. We need to have just save your voice to
Hmm.
get to the point that you need, because like I can't tell you anything. It's your
Yeah.
interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Well, anyway, look, in the end, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of takes on some of
yeah.
those parts. But, in the end, and I listen to it now, like listening with you and remembering how far we came with it, I'm proud of it. I think we did really good. I'm really proud of the arrangement. Some people really like it, some people don't like it. But, look, you take a risk as an arranger
Yeah,
when you take a
exactly.
beloved song like that. I mean, that's, the Beatles of all, which is the pinnacle of pop and rock music. And this song is nearly 60 years old, and people are used to hearing it a certain way. And why did you have to go and do that? Well, why did the Beatles have to go and do covers of the songs that they started with? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't accept that critique.
Yeah.
Anything is fair game to interpret it in a new way. And I really like this arrangement. And it's not kind of one of these cheesy minor key reharmonizations. I mean, we're like 6 months away from just AI being able to do a reharmonization with the click of a button,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in this case, it starts out in minor key, but there's some tricks to it, and then it goes back to the major key, and then it transposes from G to D to C minor
Yeah.
again. So, like, AI is not going to do that. So that's what I think.
Yeah.
When you're doing an arrangement, do something that AI is not going to be able to figure out on its own.
Yeah,
It's got to reflect you in there.
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, there is a lot of work put in this song,
yeah,
and I think that's the uniqueness of the song, the key change, like I told you, the choice of the keys is really like it's significant. Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
All right, let's move on to the next one now. We'll go to your version of your rendition of Sound of Silence. And it was based on the Disturbed version, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So let me find that.
Yeah.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping
left its seeds while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Okay, let's stop there for a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Really nice. I mean, first of all, it's such a beautiful song. It's kind of hard to go wrong with this song. I think it's one of the most eternal songs of the pop era. It's just wow, to think to be able to write a song like that. It's just that song has always impressed me.
No,
But
that
I love the performance because it's not a pop performance. It's
yeah.
a mixture of your classical training, but then again, it's not an operatic bel canto performance either. It's
Yeah,
a hybrid. It's you,
it's a
right?
hybrid.
It's you.
Yeah. It's what happens with me that I tend to connect this all like kind of should we call it a mix or a fusion or
Yeah.
I don't know how can I call it, but this song actually the idea was just to make a cover because I wanted in the second and third and after the not the first part but the following parts I wanted just to make the few voices going together. So the idea was just to take the backtrack of Disturbed and sing, and even I wouldn't change the key because I tried this and this and this to go down, up and stuff, and how to make it better for my voice, sounding for my voice. But then I was like, no, that's the F sharp minor is the perfect key here, and so I just took the backtrack actually.
Oh, okay.
I went to the studio and I recorded the vocals. The recording it's the other thing, but the other story. But then when I finished that, I was talking online to my father who lives in Ukraine. So and usually he does
he's a musician as well, isn't he?
He's the musician as well, and previously he was a bassist, bass player, and now as he's retired, he made a small home studio, so he's doing his own music and he's producing my songs and and he has some singers who also they're from him. So I just told him, like, I went to the studio and I was recording one song. He told me, can you give it to listen? Can you send me to listen? And I was like, okay. So I sent him this. He said, oh, will you not mind if I will produce actually a cover on this? Like maybe it will sound like more unique or better, or I don't know. If you would not like, just use the backtrack like as a. So actually, he gave very good ideas, and we work it all out together because the strings and stuff, strings touch. This is like my
of course
taste. I cannot go without classical stuff.
Yeah.
So so actually, he did this version of the instrumental version. Like, the instruments behind my voice. But the vocally, this song was challenging.
I'm sure.
This is other other kind side of this thing, because the beginning is pretty low for my voice. For any female voice who sings pop, usually that's normal. That's okay. That's even there might be challenging high notes.
Well, that's what we talked about in the first, in the previous part of the interview, where for men we're like the high notes. We don't sing our low notes in pop music. But what you rightly pointed out, that never really occurred to me. The women, it's just as much warming up to hit the low notes. For a guy, I think hitting low notes, that's the easy part.
Yeah, that's the easy part. For me personally, that's not the easy part because, like, by nature, I am a soprano, so it really takes with me time. It took, and still it's taking time with me to work on my low notes, though recently, like few years, it's going better and well, and I'm feeling comfortable in that. Before I was just pushing and then discovering how can I make it,
Right.
how can I make it. So you see, usually I go through my how I worked on myself, how I would feel that, or I felt that, so then I pass
Right.
it to students. So I just relaxed, and this F sharp, the down one, that was really challenging the beginning, and after it goes also it has this pitch. So yeah, I what I discovered, I have just to relax and exhale.
Okay.
These notes, somewhere I can whisper them, somewhere I can add some vocal fry.
Okay.
When in this fusion of classical.
Actually, talk about vocal fry, because that's again, coming back to studying singing after many, many years. I never heard the term vocal fry until recently. So like talk about what exactly is vocal fry.
Actually, also they call it, like, I would literally translate it from what I know, that that's like doubling the vocal cords.
Okay.
Like if you relax, and like I hear now my baby does the sound, like now it's gonna be funny, but like
Right.
the sound,
Sure.
that's the vocal fry when you
Yes.
add it to the beginning of the note, beginning of the word, beginning of the phrase,
Right.
beginning of anywhere, and you can continue that and sing along, comparing the long period, long phrase on that, but
Right.
not necessary now. It depends on the style. So some in some beginning of the phrases, when it starts from the low note, it's nice to use that because it gives it gives the comfortable physical beginning
Right.
for
Okay.
you. And some kind of, okay, that's something different, not everything like straightforward
Right.
sounds.
Okay.
So that's the point of it.
Okay. All right, let's go to the second verse. Let's hear your. I'll go out of the acapella back to the strip to the stem, and we'll go back to your dad so we can hear your dad's proper orchestral treatment of the song.
In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, 'neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and dawn, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking, people speaking, people hearing, people listening, people writing songs, and voices never fail, and melody distort the sound of silence.
Wow. Okay. So you're going up the octave there, obviously, right?
Actually, I've taken everything of what was done before and took it one octave higher.
Right.
That
Right.
I added some voices. So when I went one octave higher, I started with one voice, and then I added second voice, and then there were 3 voices maximum. I would add more even, but
Okay.
like I think that's enough because we have enough reach the music, the instrumental arrangement too, and What I wanted.
Well, no, you're saying you double tracked the lead vocal, you're saying, and triple tracked the lead vocal?
No, I didn't do like the same. I didn't do the doubles. I didn't. It's like just one line, but
Okay.
I've done the back vocals, which
Okay.
are the same in the same power. I think we
Okay.
didn't do like the one main and that's it. It's like just three of me singing different melodies.
Okay.
So it all goes with the harmony.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
why you can hear a lot of sound there. High sound, yeah, too.
All right. So
Uh,
when you the highest notes in that phrase, what's the highest note that you're hitting there?
I think that was A. Yeah, as I
Okay.
remember, the
So
highest.
in the context of your range, I mean, where does that, how comfortable is that note?
Um, It took for me some time, not now, but
Okay.
4 years. It took with
Okay.
me some time to get that note right in a classical way, let's say.
Yeah.
But now that's pretty comfortable. Like
Okay.
now I can manage that. If we go a bit higher, um, A sharp, B, that's fine.
Okay.
C sharp is in my range, but that needs
Okay.
more work. Yeah.
All right. So basically, if you had to say the hardest part of the song was the low F sharp in the beginning or the
Yeah.
high A in this part.
I would say the low F sharp in the
Wow.
beginning.
Okay. See, it's very, very counter. I think for a lot of people watching this, they would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
women
that's
wouldn't, but guys definitely would be surprised to hear.
yeah, that's surprising. But you see, I spent years on doing the high notes and like and
Well, look,
and
I think I would presume, I know from singing tenor in a choir, when you're in a group, okay, especially a big choir, it's
yeah.
not as naked as, hitting the note, you're blending with the other voices. Not that you don't have to be in the pitch, of course, has to be right, but nailing the exact timbre and performance of the note as a soloist is quite different, right? So,
Yeah, it is different, but I want to note that when you sing in choir high notes, that's a bit dangerous for a singer to not fall down for a wrong way of singing, for
okay.
not stress your voice a lot, because all the people singing differently, and
Yeah.
you might be wanting to do what your neighbor is doing.
Oh, okay.
Go wrong. That's why we will not underestimate the work of the chorists who are
Right.
singing,
Right.
in tenor or soprano part
Right.
too. Because I almost lost my voice because of
Really?
singing in soprano in a choir. When we are 90 people in a choir, okay, there
Yeah.
are 30 soprano, let's say
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
And each day, like you have 5 times per day, the choir 2 hours. Okay,
Mhm.
there are a lot of the program is huge, like the concerts, the finals, and stuff. Like there are maybe 15 concerts that you are
Right.
doing at the same time. And when you are in soprano, in part of soprano, it's always like, let's say D, E, F, G, A, B, maybe C sometimes,
Right.
like all these octaves. So, and they ask you to sing it piano, soft. Ask you to sing it as soft as possible because we are 25 and
Right.
it's even piano or pianissimo.
Yeah.
You have to sing it very soft.
Yeah.
How can the person who is not properly trained or doesn't
Yeah.
have that much experience into singing high notes sing that correctly? So I'm sure that not like 20 of us out of 25 were like
Right.
that.
Right.
And
Right.
me, after like 2, 3 years, I almost lost my voice, and then I
Wow.
was looking for help. And what happened, actually, this situation brought me to vocal coaching,
Really?
say, like specializing in vocal coaching, because I found someone who could take me out of this. And I was doing it consciously, not like, okay, I'm coming here, do whatever you want with me. I want to
Right.
correct my voice. No, I was researching, I was trying, I was feeling, I was like doing the stuff consciously. So
Yeah.
I would say with help of my teacher, I could take myself out. And then I was like, oh my God, I can feel not only myself, I can feel the others. I can
Right.
see how to remove that tension. And it's not like, yeah, I self-doubt sometimes, like maybe, I don't know, but when I'm really like listening to a person in front of me and I hear that, I'm like, no, I hear that, and I find I'm 100% sure I will find a solution for that person.
Okay.
So yeah, oh, that's a long story.
Yeah.
Going
No, but like
up.
that's important for you as a, talking about you as a teacher, that your own experiences and your own difficulties. So, coaches and we have the impression that, oh, the coaches know everything. But
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that you became a coach because you struggled yourself as a performer, I think is
exactly.
useful for singers who would want to work with you to understand,
Exactly.
okay, she's not just some oracle giving advice because she knows it all. She's doing this because she lived it and
I,
she had to
I,
learn, and now she's using that to save the trouble for other people. I think it's great.
yeah, so I went through this, and I would say that that's better than if you like woke up one day and you're like, "Oh, I want to be a teacher. Let me go and coach."
Yes.
Like, really, that wasn't this
Right.
way.
Right.
So that's the good part of it, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
So that's a good that I mean, I think that track showing the low notes and the high notes was really good. Let's switch back now. We're going to go to my cover of More Than Words,
Yeah.
which I I always felt that song, it's a wonderful song. We all know it. We grew up with that song. It's such a beautiful song. But because it's sung and played on the guitar in a certain way, and the two guys harmonizing, and we think of the video as if it's like a sweet love song about a guy who's just saying it's so great to be in love. But if you really just listen to the lyrics,
Yeah.
it's actually a pretty desperate song where the guy is saying, I've tried everything and it's just not working. You're not hearing me. And I need more from you. And so I felt like I want to cover the song in a way that maybe puts more focus on the desperate aspect of the lyrics. So I thought, okay, let's completely change the character of the song, which everyone associates it with just the acoustic guitar. And Nuno Bettencourt has talked about that he championed that song and he fought with the record company saying, I know we're a hard rock band, but I believe in this track. And he had to convince the record company, and he did, and it paid off, obviously, for everybody involved.
It's
But I thought, okay,
different.
let's now, all these decades later, let's look at it in a sadder context, in a more desperate context with the piano. So I'm just gonna play actually the vocal part because it's also reharmonization, not quite to the level of that we talked about with Blackbird, but let's hear how this one works out.
Saying I love you is not the words I long to hear from you. It's not that I want you not to say, but if you only knew how easy it would be to show me how you feel. More than words is all you ever needed to show. Then you wouldn't even have to say that you love me, 'cause I'd already know.
Okay, so I'm trying to think back to the session, and that part needed to show again. It was the E, just like we talked about in Blackbird. Free needed to show, and in the end, I'm happy with how that came out because there's a little bit of grit in there, in the way that I sang it.
Actually, there is a lot of your work put in here because I think what was done is just to let you go free with your vocals to find the right sound, because that's really a sensitive ones.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty naked, like I would say, like with Blackbird, but I wouldn't say there is a lot of vocal difficulties as with
Right.
the Blackbird, but difficulties on finding the right timbre
Yes.
for each phrase to point at the main thought that you are aiming to, the desperate part of
Yeah.
the character. Yeah, and I remember just the last phrase you were singing in the recording that took like
Oh
a
God.
lot of takes
Yes.
to find
Yeah,
the
full
right.
disclosure, all this took a lot of takes also. This is not like
Yeah,
I went in there and banged out a few takes and it came out sounding like that.
a
This is a
lot
lot of takes and a lot of comping,
a
people.
lot of doubt, a lot of like, should I make this phrase this way or
Right.
that way? Here should be falsetto or no, here should be that or
Yeah.
and as I'm telling, like each syllable that we say, okay, it's done this way,
Right.
oh, it's done this way. It's particularly different in each
Right.
context. Like if even in this song, if in one phrase you would sing not the word not this way, the one way, in other phrase you would do it another way.
Right.
So
So
I
all the more reason that a coach can help you to determine that, because if you're struggling on your own saying, okay, well, this is this kind of vowel, I'll sing it the same way in each time. But
yeah,
what you're saying is maybe it doesn't work in that context.
exactly. And here we come to the musical interpretation, which depends on actually performer, the main person who is doing that, not on like how I see that, but from the perspective that you have. If I feel what you feel,
Yes.
then I can somehow uh, uh, direct you. I wouldn't say that. I would say do this, do this,
Right.
do this. In here, I would direct you because you would search on it on your own,
Right.
and then we will.
I'm going to continue on now. That I'm remembering, I'm going to bring it up after we play the next segment of one of the things that realizations I had during the session. But let's keep going.
Yeah.
What would you say if I took those words away? Then you couldn't make things new just by saying I love you.
So, I had the idea of this song in a certain context for me. It felt more like because it was the piano. We haven't heard the piano here, but Carl, who engineered the session, went to his little studio and we did this, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, this is kind of like it reminds me of a Disney musical," and I was like almost offended, like, "What do you mean Disney musical? I'm not writing some cheesy Disney musical. This is a song by a rock band that I'm doing in a piano context." But it's an important lesson for any arranger, or I mean certainly a songwriter, but even an arranger, is that what the image you have of your song is not necessarily what the listener is going to latch onto. And this is, I mean, every artist has talked about this, is that the songs that they thought would be the most appreciated are not, and the ones that they thought were, I mean, I like that song, but I didn't think it was the best one on the album. And that oftentimes ends up being the one that people appreciate the most. And so I think it's a good lesson for anyone who's doing this, whether you're recording or you're writing or you're arranging.
Yeah.
You project certain things onto it because of what it means to you, but what other people are going to hear in it is oftentimes quite different.
Exactly, because everyone has his own perspective, and plus, don't expect things with music that doesn't really work. Yeah, you shouldn't
Yeah,
expect
well,
people
we all
see
have our influences, right? We all come from, and nobody knows that when they hear our music. Now, for me, when I listen to a song that I arranged or wrote, I'll say, oh, well, that's the influence of, 60s rock, and that's the influence of 80s pop, and that's, a little bit of classical influence and a little bit. I can like break that down because I know myself. Okay. But the person hearing it might hear something totally different and say, oh, that reminds me of whatever, some Norwegian folk song. I don't know, something that he or she knows and appreciates.
the age, the country, the everything,
Yes.
I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
Everything would have an influence on that. Though that was surprising about the Disney musical. I would understand him now. You are looking at it from another perspective and like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's
No, so I'm learning to embrace that. Okay, people will say things and they'll mention influences that don't really apply, but then I
Yeah.
thought, okay, but you know what? Maybe he's onto something because, like we talked about earlier, I was spent a lot of time when I was a teenager on musical theater and all of that, and so somehow maybe that's coming out. I don't think of that like, oh, I'm writing this because I've been
Unconscious.
influenced by musical theater arrangements, but somehow I think it's in there.
Yeah, unconsciously,
Yeah.
because what the arrangements you are doing, they are dramatically like really structured.
Yeah.
You have the culminations, you have the theater part in each theater aspect
Yes.
in each arrangement. Like
Yes.
it's a play.
Yes.
It's a short, but it's a play that has a
Yeah,
structure.
somehow, yeah, yeah. I think of Blackbird like that because it's because the minor key memorization, then it goes to me. So yes, there's a storyline somehow in there in the arrangement, and so I mean, as an arranger, I enjoy doing that because if you know, okay, sometimes you're just going to do a cover of the song because it's a song that you love, but sometimes you're going to say, I'm going to really reinvent this song, and in these two cases, I tried to do that. So I'm going to play the last bit with the piano.
Yeah.
Because this is the part where it goes a little bit classical, a little bit of Bach styling in there. So let's hear the end.
Now that I've tried to talk to you and make you understand, all you have to do is close your eyes and just reach out your hand and touch me. Hold me close, don't ever let me go. More than words is all you have to do to make it real. Then you wouldn't even have to say that you love me. 'Cause I'd already know. More than words, more than words.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
took a lot of takes because that's really the money note of the song. That minor second there, right? Uh,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that half diminished chord. But I love that. You know,
If the
I love those
result,
kind of voicings. That's my thing. I love that.
the result is that you should be really proud of,
Oh,
because
thank you, Maria.
that's really, yeah. Um, yeah, the last notes I remember that like to find the right, not only that's vocally physically difficult,
Yeah.
but that was difficult to find the right timbre, because I remember like how how still these notes were difficult for you, soft.
Yes.
Still you were searching and doing that. I don't know if you did that again without me. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
I did. I do, those there was a lot of takes to get to that because you know what? At some point, it's like okay, I found I have the timbre, I have the note, but then it's the question of the vibrato, particularly on that falsetto, that minor second, that half
yeah.
step move. I really needed to get the vibrato exactly right and not drifting at all, and so that took a lot of takes to get there.
Yeah, the right vibrato too, because in one note you can use like in the beginning vibrato, you can use vibrato in the end
Yes.
of the note, and how long it should be, and maybe vibrato should stay all the note.
Yeah, well, it's also the amplitude, and I noticed this when looking at for the Four Seasons project that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And one of those is doing an arrangement of "We Are the Champions" by Queen, and so to make the demos, I ripped the stems of Freddie Mercury's vocal, and his vibrato. Like when I do a vibrato, it's usually plus or minus a quarter tone, right? His vibrato is plus or minus a half tone each way. It's
Awesome.
very, very wide vibrato, and I think that's part of the character of his voice. But so it's interesting when you look visually at the
Yeah. Oh,
waveform
yeah,
of the
that's
sound and seeing, well, that's part of what gives it the quality that it has. Really interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And actually, we shouldn't be too into vibrato because that's
Well, look,
another.
that's Freddie Mercury,
But
not out to be Freddie Mercury to copy him.
exactly.
I feel like my vibrato is what is comfortable for me. I'm not trying to be someone else or trying to set it as an
Yeah,
arbitrary standard. I should have this much
we don't,
amplitude in the vibrato. It is what it is. And
and
as
this
you
is
said,
also
sometimes
fine.
you do it at the end of the note, sometimes in the beginning of the note, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But vibrato is a tool, particularly in a song like this where it's so naked, and you just have this very legato kind of arrangement, and sometimes the chord it's just the reverberation of the chord, and everything is just the vibrato of that sustained note.
No, here you would use it, yeah. In more fast songs, I would say, in more like with much more music than this, vibrato would sound as if you are not able to hold
Yeah,
the diaphragm, right? But
yeah,
in such sensitive songs, I would say sensitive, I don't know if we can use that word.
yeah,
We it's likely to use vibrato, yeah,
yeah,
on the longest notes in the end, yeah. But sometimes it's also like it's nice to have a clear, straight note in such things to compare.
yeah,
And when you do one note with vibrato and one the clear one, like one
yeah.
line, then people will like, ah, he can
You're
do this.
right. And to be honest, sometimes vibrato is a crutch because it's sometimes harder just to hold a note, flat and the pitch being perfectly
Yeah,
straight.
yes.
So, but all of that are things that we work on together. And so anyone who's looking for a coach, I mean, Maria and I still do sessions remotely. She's available. Obviously her link's going to be in the description of all this. I urge everyone to contact her if you want to talk about it. She'll be happy to explain her techniques. I really, really believe in her techniques, the physiology, like we talked about earlier. And she comes from the classical background, but also she's a pop singer as well. She does pop arrangements, and so that was a very good fit for me. I'm so grateful we had the chance to work together. We have another set of lessons coming up first to finish up the vocals for some
Yeah,
upcoming
looking forward.
vocals that I need to do. But thank you for doing this. This is really good fun to talk about these three songs and talk about the way we work together and your approach to coaching.
Yeah.
And again, Maria's coming at this as someone who was a vocalist who struggled at one point, and she channels all of that into her coaching. And I think that's really, really valuable.
Thank you, George. I want to thank you for this fruitful
Of
conversation. I
course.
really enjoyed it, and I can go for hours
Well, I could too, but
talking about your arrangements and anything we are talking about.
well, when we finish rolling out the next album, we'll do another one of these and we'll go
Yeah,
through all the
yeah,
songs that we're working on
yeah.
currently.
Looking forward. And
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria.